Hello and welcome to this special live stream of Get Control of Virtual Events. I'm your host, Sal Camarda with Meetup, joined by my trusty in-studio live stream partner, Mr. Eric Miller from Mainline AV. And for the next 30 minutes, we're going to be covering what you need to know to become a virtual event presenter rock star. We've been getting huge requests for this topic over the past 4 weeks, so we decided to change things up for this episode and invite a special guest to share their methods, techniques, really give you the tools that you need to turn into the Bon Jovi of virtual event presentation. Before I introduce today's guest, please don't forget to download today's companion app, Event Concepts by Meetup. It's free in either the Apple App Store or in Google Play. No registration required. Just download it, enter the event, Get Control of Virtual Events, and click the join button at the bottom. In there, you could submit questions, remarks, or comments during today's live stream. You can also answer live polls and get access to all of the exclusive special content. Now, our guest today, Mr. Mike Song, is an award-winning author of the best-selling books, The Hamster Revolution and Zip Tips. He's presented to over 20% of the global 1,000 companies out there, as well as the Army, Air Force, and Marines. Mike provides over 100 webinars to corporate clients each year. That's a lot. And is widely regarded as one of the best virtual presenters in the world. Along with this topic, he also presents on original topics, including tech-driven time management, present like a rock star, superstar selling from home, leading from home, and get control of email, Outlook, and your smartphone. Mike's appeared on CNN, Fox, CBS, ABC, and NPR. He's an all-American distance runner. And in keeping with that rock star theme of today, he's also played in a rock band that played with Joe Walsh, Bon Jovi, and the Ramones. I don't know about you, but with a bio like that, it makes me feel like I haven't done crap with my life. So while I sit here and question every poor decision I've made in my life, let's welcome Mr. Mike Song. Mike, take it away.
Oh, Sal, thank you so much. Welcome, everybody tuning in. I'm really excited here. I'm going to pop my screen up here, and we're going to get rolling and have some fun together today. Let me share that screen, and there we go. How to be a virtual presentation rock star is one of the most important things that we could be talking about today for you folks who are involved with events. We all know that it's harder to get people to focus, their attention spans are down, and sometimes the success or failure of a project, an initiative, an event that you're holding has a lot to do with whether or not those people, those speakers, those folks who are facilitating it can connect with people who are in that experience. So on that note, we're going to have some fun today. We've got some poll data, some survey data we're going to talk to you about as well. But most of all, I'm going to jump in and try to move quickly so that you get some good value. I'd love to see you improve your virtual presentation skills by 20, 30% just by what we covered today. So I've got a question for everybody out there, and I would love for you to tell me if you can type it in on your on the app that you have. And by the way, we love Meetup. We use it all the time for our events, and it's been an incredible partnership that we've had. We literally have had tens of thousands of people coming through our events, and it's been exciting to partner with them. But I want to ask you a question. What percentage of the people who are about to do a virtual or live presentation feel anxious? What do you think that number is? Do you have a guess at that? I'd like you to try to think about what that number is, because it's pretty powerful. That number is 74%. So 3/4 of every human being that you see walking around the world, that you see on TV, they're feeling anxiety. They're feeling nervous before they go on and present. They're not quite sure how things are going to go. And look at this, 41% of people say that public speaking is their greatest fear. And many people are even more anxious about being on a webcam in a major event like this, because it's a little bit of an awkward feeling and situation. We'll talk about that. And 1 out of 5 people are nervous enough to be diagnosed with something called glossophobia. So it is impossible to talk about running a great event without talking about this. But I've got a great solution today that will allow us to move quickly. And here is the solution. When you are connecting with people, when your presenters are really locking in and getting people's leaning forward, the nervousness goes away. In other words, a lot of people try to cure the nervousness with, deep breathing. And that's good. All that stuff's great. But the way that I cure the nervousness for anyone I'm working with, I just say, let's get you connecting early. Let's get you making a difference. Let's stop losing those people right off the bat and have a plan for interaction. That's right. We often over and over again, I'd say the vast majority of presentations I audit, there is no plan for interaction. And for me, I'm the exact opposite. Every event that I do, I say, what's the overlay? What's the plan? What's the sequence for when we're going to create those interactions? Okay. So it's a very different way of thinking it out. And you will know instantly when someone's thinking that way or not thinking that way. And I can tell you it's going to double or triple the impact of people at your events if they can think about this overlay. Now, last little bit about nervousness, right? Here's a guy staring right at you, that dull sort of look, and that can be someone in a webcam, right? The look might be a little dull and actually emotionless because they're actually listening to you. But your human brain triggers something that when people are just kind of staring at you, it feels that something's wrong. It's not like all the other communication that we do. We start to wonder, what are they thinking? They look a little bored. They look a little this. They look a little that. Sometimes it's the body posture that sets you off. These are triggers in your brain that cause you to tighten up. And of course, sometimes people are maybe yawning or even falling asleep at a presentation that they see. And some people just look kind of irritated when they're just normal in their resting face. The second you start talking to them, they get animated. So this is a normal condition that will impact everything that you do. And I want to talk very quickly today in our limited time how to solve the problem, how to create a brand new you, or a brand new you who's coaching folks in your team where this doesn't happen. The nervousness doesn't happen because the connection occurs, all right? And my solution is very simple. It is that human beings, when they present or are in an audience, are desperately hoping for call and response interactions to occur. So we have to name what this is, because I talk to speakers that sometimes have stumbled onto a call and response concept, and they don't even know what it is. They just know they do this one thing in this one situation, but they can't systematically engage the audience through call and response. Where did all this come from for me? Well, you know the song, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, right? As Sal was saying, I was in a rock band. We were playing in this club. We were doing okay, but we didn't have the place rocking, right? And that's what you want when you're doing an event. You want that event to rock. And that's how I am about all the events I do. So I had this thought, I don't know where it came from. It just said, why don't you ask them to sing a certain part of the song where there's a little breakdown? So I yelled out to the crowd. I just said, hey, repeat after me. And then I just went, A-O-A. And then the whole place answered back, A-O-A. And I said, holy cow, I didn't know what to do. I said, A-O-O. And the whole place went A-O-O. Now, while this is happening, guys and gals are grabbing their girlfriend, boyfriend. They're jumping up. The bartenders are like starting to like jam. Someone jumps up on stage and starts playing tambourine. It was riveting. Call and response is a primitive, powerful thing that only maybe 1% of speakers really understand and do well. So I'm going to explain it to you today in the simplest terms, but I want you to have your lion sleeps tonight moment. I want you to go out and try call and response and help coach your people. And I'm glad to help you with that. That's part of what I do, to really connect and also watch other projects and programs and things that you see, and you'll see where it's not usually happening, almost never happening. Okay, so how do you do great call and response to build the connection with people? It's very, very simple. You want to have a clear call, and that is what's the single most important aspect of it. When I said repeat after me, I wasn't saying, hey, do you want to make some noise? I wasn't saying you having fun, because if I said you having fun tonight, people might say yeah, or they might whistle, or they might say woohoo, or they might do this, right? That dilutes most people's attempts at call and response and causes them to crush inside themselves and feel nervous again. It's such a simple fix. You just have to be specific. So when we're doing some call and responses today, I hope you will sort of participate and do them with me. It's a little different here, but I will love to do those with you. So your calls have to be clear, okay? And then you have to think about what your sequence is. That's the call and response plan that I want you to overlay all of your events, okay? Now, when you do this, when you have the call and response going, you get a feedback loop started. You have interaction happening. You have rapport with your audience, and you have engagement, which is incredibly important, okay? So let's start with where everything goes wrong. At the outset of most presentations like this, People are not talking. They're not interacting. In fact, I would love for you guys to do some interaction. Get ready to do a little interaction with me right now. So the first and foremost, if you're trying to have a presentation and it is live and people can talk, it's almost always disastrous in the virtual world because 5 people talking at once sounds like a ton of noise. I call this the Yugo phenomenon too, where 2 people might start talking at once and they say, "You go," no, you go. But I think you can have your excitement builders, your team builders ready to go, and they can be simple. These are actual screenshots from programs that I've done, and here you can see I ask people, "Hey, tell me about where you were at. What's the weather like?" Such a simple question, right? But even more fun, I'll ask people, "Hey, what's your favorite movie?" And that's what I want you to do right now. Everybody just type into there, and Sal, maybe you can help me with that. Type in your favorite movie as quickly as you can right into the Meet app tool that we have there. And let's see what you guys say your favorite movie is. I'd love to know what that is. And I'll see if I can see those popping up here. There'll be a little delay. So when you do this, you start to learn about the people that are on there. You start to find it's creating content almost instantaneously. So here we see The Godfather. Here we see Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, so I'm getting a little bit of insight into the folks who are answering that question. And I'm starting to feel like a little bit more connected to them. Tommy Boy, right? These are great responses. So look at the difference between those Tommy Boy, funny, Chris Farley movie, complete irreverence, and The Godfather, totally a cinematic masterpiece, all about our life there. Sweet Home Alabama. There's another one from Abby. Very interesting, right? So I think that's with Reese Witherspoon, isn't it, Abby? And she kind of goes down to Alabama, and I think there's a doctor involved. Love that movie too. Pride and Prejudice. Now look at the differences. I'm learning about the people on the call. We're building our sort of rapport together. So try that. Make sure that you have that set up for people to ask and answer a question to get the call and response going. And I want to also let Wizard of Oz. So now they're coming in fast and furious. So it tells me so much about you that you like the Wizard of Oz. Now that you guys have found the tool where to type stuff, hey, I want to ask you a survey question, right? I would love to know if you're using Elf. Those are my favorite movies. Mrs. Doubtfire. Now they're going by faster than I can read them. I love it. So let me just ask you this question. Are you using an Android phone or an iPhone? And just go ahead and type an A for Android and an I for an iPhone into that chat box as well, okay? Just type an I for an iPhone, an A for an Android phone, and just type that in. When we conduct a survey, and I'm going to show you that one of the simplest things that you can do is just have a letter that people type in when they see something they like. Maybe it's the letter L or the letter W. It's a really powerful way to start the interaction, but it's all based on a call and response. And you want to see, I see all these I's going by and A's going by. Fantastic. So you got a super interactive group here. Here's the big idea. The purpose of using the I or the A or the L for like or W for wow is that it's so easy to type that single character into that chat stream to get things moving, to get that interaction going. And that's where the power of call and response really, really takes off. And once you get that, that can be your opening sequence for everything. You don't have to have a separate, look at all the A's and I's are going by faster than I can even read them. I can sort of fly this out here just to show you. Here's a bunch of A's and I's going by on the screen there. Really fun. But here's the key. You can't just stop there. You got to get that little action going where people are typing in I or A or that they like something. You can have them, a great way to get that whole thing going is just ask them if they can hear you clearly. Hey, if everyone can hear me clearly, type a Y into the question box. Now you're literally teaching them where they're going to do all their interaction through the program. And you've also got some good feedback to make sure your audio is crystal clear, right? So that's important as well. So then you want to take your call and response to the next level. And here's where you just never see this happen in the real world of presentations. It's very rare that people don't gamify their bullet points, their key stats, their information. They just present it and people tune out. The number one mistake that professionals make is that they don't fly in their bullet points. And guess what? If you don't fly in your bullet points one at a time, people will read ahead and tune out if you don't fly in those bullets, because you control the presentation. All the surprises are in your pocket. All the secrets of what you're going to present are there if you fly those in. And I always like to pop out at this point in time and just give you a couple other things inside a PowerPoint that I just do all the time that I just wanted to show you real fast, right? So you always want to fly in your bullet points. That's so easy to do. You highlight your animations, you click on animation, click fly in. This is a handy little tool that could allow you to fly them in from different angles, right? So that can create a little bit of a different look and get people leaning forward in their seats. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you too was that if you have images inside your PowerPoint presentation here, you'll notice that you've always got this problem of the blockiness of the fact that most of these presentations are squares. But if you cut out all the background from around this, it actually becomes a much more interesting image. Let me just show you this real quickly. If I take this and I click on picture format and remove background, just like that, and keep changes, usually you have to fiddle with it a little more than that. Then you can really expand the size of that photograph, even sort of put it in front a little bit of it to create some three-dimensionality. So that's another way that you can always keep pulling people in with your visuals. But the number one thing that I think is so important is that you gamify your statistics, right? So people will read ahead. Now, this is what I always do with people. And this is actually a real statistic from that we actually gathered this data about 3 weeks ago. We asked people what percentage of your colleagues are nervous to turn on their webcam. Now, you may have seen the answer. So I'm gonna ask a different question, all right? Because I think I revealed the answer. What percentage of people turn on their webcam when someone else turns it on? In other words, they don't turn it on themselves, but when someone else turns their webcam on, they instantly turn it on. Anybody want to guess what percentage that is? Go ahead and type that into the chat area here in the Meet app. Cool, and I'm seeing some results start to pop in. And we'll turn it into a contest. Whoever gets the closest gets a free imaginary iPad Pro. Yeah, Sal and his team have authorized that. So I see 50%, 70%, 48%. Great. So people are guessing. We've turned it into a game that you can win. We'll see who is closest to the answer. I'll roll in the result. It's 89% of people are afraid to turn on their webcam, and 50% of the people are afraid will turn it on if somebody else does. And what that tells me is that there's a powerful opportunity to get better with our webcams. But really, the point of this last slide was to play what I call the family feud. Pick your best data point, the one that you want them to remember in 3 or 4 weeks, and animate that data point in. Never just give it to them. You're creating almost zero suspense. It's also a great time to say, hey, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give everybody a free PDF with this in it, or I'm going to do something, we're going to cover something really important, or we're going to get this important spreadsheet that we want to work with. Someone says 89%. I waited to answer. 100%. These are all great guesses. Highly interactive group here. I love it. So here's the big idea. You animate those in, you're going to have people much more interested. See how we brought this guy up? We got rid of the blockiness of that slide, and now we have a better slide. Okay, we're pulling and drawing people in with what we do. Now let's talk just a little bit here about the webcam situation. We know that 89% of all professionals have a reluctance to turn it on. Right there, you know that if you can get through that and get relaxed, you're going to be doing better. And here's the great news. When you start doing that call and response, when you're rolling in your bullet points, when you're gamifying a particular statistic, when you're getting them to, when you see them tapping the L for like in the chat box, guess who's not nervous anymore? It's the most relaxing thing in the world to know that you're doing well with a particular audience. So that's one of the key takeaways of the call and response piece of this. But you can also do call and response and add webcam in it as a twist. But real quickly, I do want to talk about the webcam images that we tend to see when people are just turning it on. Now, if you're not showing up very clearly, if you're showing up foggy or not well, that's going to subliminally start to make you feel nervous again, right? So we want you to feel confident and project the best you, put your best face on versus what we normally see. Now, this is just a random group of people I found in a web meeting online, and I just did a quick screenshot. But what I love about it is it shows that how easy it is to improve. So real quickly, here's some things that could be improved. When you have light coming in from a window behind you, it washes everything into a dark shadow in front. So really be careful about the backlit window because it looks like you're in a cave at that point. Even I can't even make out what this is behind this person. Now here's a guy with a bunch of stuff on his wall. I can't tell if those are Post-it notes or if it's a modern art thing or what it is. My best guess is, would you guys say it's a Post-it note? I think it is. And I'm also looking at his ceiling. I can't really see what his books are here. And it's an awkward angle. So we'll show you how to correct that. Here's a guy in front of a whiteboard. And that whiteboard is reflecting the glare of his computer. Notice how foggy. It looks like he's in a dense fog right there. And that happens when you get that glow of something reflected on a whiteboard. We have a guy who's outside, also with the camera angle up. Outside is tricky. I mean, we can certainly do it, but there's a lot of unexpected noise, planes flying over, cars beeping, doorbells ringing. There's just a lot of stuff that can happen outside. So I always ask people to be cautious about that. And here's just your basic person who's got the laptop on their desk and it's sort of looking up their nose. We'll come back to that. And of course, this was interesting, I guess. But here's the last one, which I think is the most important one. Here's that missed opportunity, right? You've got nothing in the background here. What if you have some context builders that show a little bit more about what you're into, who you are, what you like to do, who's in your family? All of those things can make it much more high impact. And I coach a lot of salespeople too, and we change the way they connect with their clients. So they're staring face to face. So here are the solutions, right? Really simple. You don't want to look up my nose, right? So use that preview mode for Teams, for WebEx. They all have a preview mode. Go to Webinar. There's a preview mode that you can find under Preferences, under Webcam. You can see a preview of what you look like. Check it out. Adjust the lighting in the room. Now frame up so you're eye to eye, so you're at the top of the screen. I see a lot of people with their heads, maybe the top of their head is down here, and there's nothing but space above them. That doesn't look great. Center yourself up and really try to think about being eye to eye, just like you'd like to be in a live meeting. Putting the front lights in is a great thing that you can do. I'm going to bring in my phone here real quickly. Let me see if I can just bring my phone onto the screen here real fast and show you what my screen looks like when I'm doing these. As Sal said, I do about 100 of these I do about 100 of them per year. So I'm constantly presenting, but here's my phone. Let me just jump into my camera here and just show you how I would set it up if I were you. If you can't afford or have a secondary monitor, that is such a huge tool. So you can stage things over here. You can see all your responses coming through there. And then I have 2 front lights. That's the front light effect. I pop in those 2 front lights and I face myself out my window there. See that? So I'm faced out the window and that gives a great lighting experience there. Really, really important to do that. And so that's a great kind of look. And I know you guys get it, but what can you put in the background that would build context? See, human brains are always struggling to find context. And if there's just a white wall behind you, it is always going to feel disappointed in that image because it's not able to sort of read anything about you, and their brains actually want to. So put a picture of a loved one, put a book in there, maybe a pet. Pets are great. Everybody loves pets, and so think about that. I wanted to remind everybody about the book that I've written that changed my life. And so I have my little standee up behind me there as a way to do that. And most importantly, you want to smile into that lens. Get good at picturing all those people listening to you. Look into that lens because, folks, there is a huge focus deficit in the world. You pay attention to somebody, anybody, a child, a spouse, a friend, and you really lean in and listen to what they're saying, you're their favorite person that day. They're going to like interacting with you. Why? Because people don't get listened to a lot and people don't see people focusing in. So get good at really thinking of that camera lens as something important. Now, if you're trying to figure out where in your house you want to have your camera set up, a great best practice is just to walk around the house with your phone on the image reversed and just see how it looks in each location. It may sound superficial. It may sound sort of corny, but if we're putting on high impact events, we want to put our best foot forward. So really think about your smart cam setup. So we're just about out of time here, but I do think that the whole idea of today is to stop people from losing focus, have an impact, and really get it. Oh my goodness, what happened? I'm just kidding, Sal. Don't worry, Eric. I'm just kidding around. It's a screenshot, and it's my way of reminding you that you can play with this medium. It doesn't have to be the boring PowerPoint presentation. It doesn't have to be anything that is the same old, same old. You can have some fun with it. So I just took a screenshot of the blue screen of death and popped it in there. And when you do this, you'll see people just lurch into attention. It's just so interesting to see that happen. Okay. And last but not least, use people's names as much as you can. If someone says, hey, someone makes a great point, I don't just say great point. I say absolutely, and you can always track your participants in most web meeting tools. Request clarifications of how they pronounce their name, and make sure that you're utilizing some of their names all the way through that presentation. So Sal, I see that we're just about out of time. Can I give them one more power tip that I just saving for the end here?
Go for it.
All right. What's going to happen is sooner or later, you're going to want to portray something via video. And one of the greatest tools in the PowerPoint that I use all the time to jazz up my events is I'll create a video of something. And here's how I do it. I create it lightning fast by going into PowerPoint slide like this, clicking Insert, Screen Recording. Okay, and I'll just do a quick tip here. I'll do an actual tip. I can select the area that I'm gonna film, right? And then I can hit the record button. Okay, now, and then I'll do the tip. Hey everybody, if your event is starting soon and you want to kind of at least build a little suspense, a countdown is really a powerful way to start to get people excited for the beginning of that event. That 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 liftoff is great. So you can do that very easily if you're in between meetings or people are on a break by just Googling countdown, and you'll get a countdown clock right there that you can set to any time you want, so that you can build some suspense and really guide people to when they need to come back and get that program going again. Now, to finish that off, I'm just going to put my mouse to the top of the screen, click stop. And what happened there? That video is now embedded in this PowerPoint slide. Pretty cool. And when I play the slide, guess what? That video plays right along there. So you can see I'm fast forwarding to where we started our countdown. So try that. If you have anything to show people about something on your computer, try to click Insert and Record Video and just get that recording done. There's 1,000,001 uses for that, by the way, that I use all the time, just to instruct people or show people something that's hard to communicate in other ways. All right, Sal, I think we're done with the presentation part. We have a little Q&A here.
Fantastic. Mike, I just want to let you know that I just gained an extra 10 gray hairs from that blue screen of death. I literally went into panic mode. Look what the hell's going on here. So I want to thank you for that. You took about 2 years off my life.
Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. Wish you would have warned me. I was sitting here like almost in complete panic mode. We do have some great questions that came through. And for those of you who haven't yet, if you haven't downloaded the app, please download Event Concepts by Meetup. If you do have any questions, just go into the dialogue section of the Get Control of Virtual event inside of Event Concept by Meetup, and you can answer or ask any questions you have for Mike. Let's start off with a question from our good friend Abby. She's asking, how do you prepare someone to present virtually when they feel like they are an expert in a live setting without offending them? I've actually seen this many a times. Maybe they talk too fast and have an accent, always go over their time, etc. Mike, you got any good tips on that?
Well, absolutely. I think that setting it up as a dry run and running them through that, arriving at least an hour early if it's at all possible, or do it the day before. Just to make sure that, and I find that when we do it a day before, like we did for this one, Sal, we find a bunch of things that we can either improve on. The person gets more relaxed. They realize they have too much information, and that the time is going to go by real fast. Always remind people, and my team reminds me of this too. If you've got a very large diversity of people speaking different languages, maybe English is not their first language, then you try to slow down to that slower gear so that you're not going just way too fast. But I do think it is really important to emphasize to everybody making that transition that the glitches make you look bad. They make you look foolish, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. You should laugh and go with it. But the glitches are just unbelievable in virtual meetings. If one thing starts to go wrong, then another thing goes wrong. It's really like a house of cards that comes tumbling down. So that building the drama or the raising the stakes on, hey, you know what? If one thing goes wrong and you can't hear me, then the clock runs out and we've got to start this thing, and then suddenly your screen freezes. that's pretty much a pretty disastrous event. So getting them through the mechanics of it, I think, is critical.
Excellent. Excellent. So let's move on to the next question because I know we're past time, but I want to at least get a few more questions in. Are there any types of call/response questions that we should avoid? So I'm guessing that's,
Yeah.
kind of going into that whole call response. Do you know of any type of scenarios or types of questions that that is probably best to not do?
Yeah, I think there's definitely ones that I try to avoid. Well, certainly anything that's going to be controversial or, that could be divisive to people, I will always back off of those and find the fun thing that we can all agree on. It is great though to split the room, like the iPhone Android thing. If I'm doing a big talk or big keynote, I'll say who's on Gmail, who's on Outlook, and that's a lot of fun. Technology is a great unifier, right? It's not there's no politics, there's no people are just interested in technology. So tech type driven questions I think are great to gravitate towards. If there is a sense that there's some tough stuff going on at an organization, you try not to turn it into sort of a complaint fest. It's almost never has happened to me. But the most important thing about the call and response is the clarity of the call. Whatever you do, if you say, hey, what do you think of that last program that we did, right? Or the last speaker, guess what? Nobody knows how to respond. So it's call clarity is the number one way that it goes wrong. And one other thing, if you get a little bit of a lukewarm response, is very rare. But if you get a lukewarm response, I know every person here has seen someone go through and go through and I'm not sure. Oh, if that beep is on my side or your side, but go through and ask them to do it again. And that's a really powerful thing.
Excellent.
Oh, you know what that is? I can hear it in my headphones. That's my timer going off.
Oh, all right. Didn't hear a beep, but I got another question here that I think is a really good question. Actually ties into Abby's question. How can I get presenters to rely less on slides with too many words and bullet points?
It's so true that a single image is so powerful. Just hitting the B button is so powerful. I would definitely tell them that people are probably only going to remember 3 things or 2 things in a week from now. And if you're not very specific, and if you don't wean down the number of things you try to show people, they're going to forget. I mean, my big thing for this is that I want you to remember that call and response will relax you and improve the impact of your presentation and the connectivity to the audience, and to try it. But I think that you can coach them on that. I certainly would put up a photo of maybe someone on the top of a mountain going like this, right? Say, hey, you know what? You're talking about this, the trial was successful or the product had a successful launch. Why don't you just put that up there and make people feel what you're saying? Because once people connect with an image emotionally, they remember more of what you say.
Yeah, that actually goes into this whole concept of, so we've had this discussion many times, Mike, and my background's actually in human computer interaction. And there's this whole concept of cognitive load, like how many bits of information the human brain can actually handle concurrently. And if you have, and I've seen it where you'll have like presenters with like 20 bullet points on a slide. And it's like, well, I'm squinting because I'm sitting in the back of the room wondering what these tiny little bullet points say. And second of all, how much stuff do you expect me to break it up into multiple slides if you have to, but don't do 20 bullets on a slide. That's awful.
Yeah, I've seen that. And you just can see the people tuning out, and they can read ahead. And there's no suspense, there's no drama. You know exactly what they're going to talk about.
It's also pretty funny to watch like that animation of all 20 bullets, like kind of ramming its way into the screen. Mike, we are running short. I got one more for you because we always have that one person that always asks, what kind of camera are you using?
Oh, that's a Logitech HD. I think it's HD 920 or 720. And before everyone jumps off, I'd love to have you, if you'd like me to do a program with your group, we can launch a question for that, right? Or are they going to get that as they go out? I would be interested in having Mike present.
Good. Matter of fact,
for my company. Let me know. That doesn't mean you have to hire me. We always do a stakeholder demo and talk about your event and how to make it interactive, engaging, and fun for your people. And that's why I love working with Sal, because he's all about that too. That cognitive load that he talked about, I just believe that they're only going to absorb so much. So how do we create the most exciting dynamic event that we can? And I love coaching organizations, teams on that. It's so much fun when you start to see these presentations pop for people. And you get, one closing point too on that is I can't teach your people how to be comedians or to be funny. That's actually hard to do. But I can teach your people how to be fun, to create a fun environment in which to have that event. And that is a gold mine, because once people are having fun, feeling a little bit like they were when they were kids, you've got an event that's just going to be rocking. And that's why I always relate it back to my rock and roll career. Once you get people on board, you're going to have a lot of fun with that audience, and they're going to get a ton out of what you present.
Well, it's a good thing Eric didn't take my suggestion. I actually suggested that we dress up like band members from Kiss today for the whole Rockstar theme.
I have my guitar right over here.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, next time we might do a live stream jam session. Never know.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, that wraps up today's show. I want to thank my co-host, Mr. Eric Miller from Mainline AV, and our amazing guest, Mr. Mike Song from Get Control. We did send out a push notification if you are interested in having Mike either present for your organization, speak to your team, or just have a question for him. If you're interested in any of that, go ahead and reach out to him at info@getcontrol.net. If you're looking to produce a live stream with the same level of quality and awesomeness that you've seen today, feel free to reach out to Eric Miller at mainlineav.com. And last but not least, if you need an awesome way to deliver your event content, engage your audience, and more, you can reach me at info@meetupevent.com or directly at sal@meetupevent.com. For those of you that did miss today's live stream or couldn't make it, have no fear. We'll be posting the recording in the next few weeks, or I should say in the next few days. Till then, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month.